What we meant was that if kids, didn't have something as a release like Mötley Crüe or bands like Kiss and a lot of hard rock bands.
The former Mötley Crüe guitarist's recent statement has left fans in shock. I think I have about 7 or 8 years left to live. What's going on? Why is someone who seemed to have retired so active? Watch on to discover the truth behind the controversial statement and Mick Mars' journey of not giving up on faith. Mick Mars with new revelations. In a bombshell interview with Rolling Stone, Mick Mars, the legendary guitarist and founding member of the iconic rock band Mötley Crüe, revealed a series of details that shocked fans. Mars's candid and emotional account not only exposed the deep internal conflict within the band, but also revealed the terrible isolation he endured during his final tour in 2022. A journey that for Mars was not a triumph, but a silent pain. There were times when I felt like I was playing alone, Mars shared during the nearly 2-hour conversation. Can you be in the middle of a stadium with tens of thousands of people and still feel completely alone? That was Mars described his time on the 2022 stadium tour as mental hell. Despite his regular on-stage appearances, he was almost completely isolated from the rest of the band behind the scenes. What shocked fans even more was when he revealed, "No one in the band spoke to me during." This statement is in stark contrast to the image of solidarity that Mötley Crüe still presented to the media during the tour. Mars said he often just showed up on time for the show and left right after finishing his set, without anyone asking how he was. No conversation, no camaraderie. Mars's final show with Mötley Crüe took place in Las Vegas on September 9, 2022, a milestone that Mars described as liberating. However, that feeling of relief was quickly replaced by lingering pain. "I was emotionally hurt, and I'm not talking about superficial wounds. I mean deep wounds that you can't get over. They stay in your mind forever." The hurt came not only from people, but also from music, which had been his lifeblood and his passion. Mars continued to expose the injustices he endured on stage. According to him, his guitar signal in his headphones was often malfunctioning, a problem no one else in the band had. "I heard my guitar sound distorted, slowed down, sometimes nothing at all," he said. "It was like someone was deliberately trying to ruin my performance." But what shocked the public the most was the band's accusations against Nikki Sixx, the band's bassist. Mars claimed that the bass sound during the shows was 100% pre-recorded playback and not live, as the band advertised. Nikki Sixx quickly denied this, calling the accusations absurd. But the suspicions remained, especially since Mars is known for being calm and not quick to make accusations. In the immediate aftermath of the interview, fans everywhere expressed their deep disappointment. Thousands of comments poured in on Instagram and Twitter, most of them critical of the breakdown in the band's relationship. "It's sad to see a band I've loved for so many years break up in such a cold way," wrote one fan. Meanwhile, many sided with Mars, crediting his irreplaceable contributions to Mötley Crüe's signature sound. "Honestly, Mars is the one who made the Crüe identity. His guitar sound is the soul of the band," read one widely circulated comment on Reddit. Asked if he had any hope of a reconciliation with the remaining members, Mars replied emphatically, "I think we're all fine with never speaking again." He added bitterly, "And I don't just mean me and them. I mean them and each other. There's not much left between them." These words, heavy and tragic, perhaps closed a glorious chapter of Mötley Crüe that spanned more than 40 years, the chapter that was Mick Mars. However, in the face of the heavy accusations and emotional revelations from Mick Mars, the band Mötley Crüe was quick to deny them. They not only denied the accusations, but also defended their decisions regarding the tour and internal relationships. So what is the truth behind these contradictory statements? Should the audience trust the feelings of a veteran member who has dedicated his entire career, or put their faith in the band continuing their journey without him? Mötley Crüe denies claim. Shortly after Mick Mars filed a lawsuit and publicly shared his trauma while in Mötley Crüe, the legendary band quickly issued an official response, completely denying the allegations and offering an opposite version of the story. According to them, Mars's withdrawal from the band was not the result of isolation or a conspiracy, but simply a consequence of his deteriorating health. In an interview with Guitar World, bassist Nikki Sixx said, We never saw Mick not being able to continue touring. When he said goodbye, it was a shock to everyone. Six emphasized that Mars voluntarily announced his retirement from touring, which, according to the band's lawyers, this meant he was giving up his role as an active member of the band, and according to the 2008 internal agreement, Mars would no longer be entitled to profits from live performance. Six went on to clarify the reasons for the replacement. It was getting harder and harder to work with Mick. He had memory problems, couldn't remember chords, played the wrong songs, and made mistakes on stage. It was affecting the quality of our performance. The band described Mars's lawsuit as unfortunate and completely false, and insisted that they had not used pre-recorded material as Mars claimed. We've always played live. That's what Mötley Crüe has done for decades, the band stressed in an official statement. Given their commitments to fans and partners like Live Nation and Def Leppard, the band said they had no choice but to continue. We had to sit back and ask ourselves, do we just throw it all away? Do we just throw it away and call it quits? Or do we just keep going for what we've built? Nikki Sixx shared with a heavy heart. As for Mick Mars's replacement, former Rob Zombie guitarist John Five was announced as the man to take over in October 2020. Initially a touring member, he quickly became a permanent member of the band. Surprisingly, according to John Five, Mars himself supported the decision. As soon as I was told I was joining the band, Mick was the first one to text me. He said, "You're going to make." John Five even revealed that he and Mars kept in touch, exchanged Christmas gifts, and still considered each other friends. This detail is particularly controversial, as it completely contradicts Mars's previous statements, that he was isolated, ignored and eventually kicked out of the band he had been with for more than 40 years. The conflicting statements from both sides make the matter more complicated than ever, and raise many difficult questions. Who is telling the truth? And is there anything else behind that the public doesn't know? Although Mötley Crüe has publicly denied the allegations and affirmed its stance, the case is not over. Tensions between the parties continue to escalate, as the legal battle enters a new phase, where not only reputations, but also financial interests and the artistic legacy of over 40 years of activity are on the line. Who will ultimately have control over what remains of the legend that is Mötley Crüe? Legal battle escalates. After Mötley Crüe denied Mick Mars's allegations and defended their decision, the conflict between the two sides quickly escalated into a complex legal battle, revolving around financial interests and musical legacy spanning more than 4 decades. What caused the relationship between the founding members to become so strained? In April 2023, Mick Mars filed a lawsuit against the remaining members of Mötley Crüe, accusing them of unilaterally removing him from the band after he announced a hiatus from touring due to ankylosing spondylitis. Mars said that, although he only withdrew from touring, the band held an emergency shareholder meeting to remove him as a director and strip him of his shares in Mötley Crüe-related company. Mars also alleged that his share of the profits was reduced from 25% to just 5% after he retired from touring. He claimed that the band's lawyers suggested that he should be grateful that he still received a small portion of the profits, despite being one of the band's founders. Mötley Crüe has strongly denied Mars's allegations, calling the lawsuit unfortunate and completely false. The band asserted that Mars voluntarily retired, and that under a 2008 agreement, any member who resigned would not be entitled to any money related to live performance. Additionally, the band provided testimony from 7 members of its touring crew, alleging that Mars frequently forgot chords and played the wrong songs during performances. Bassist Nikki Sixx said they witnessed his physical, mental, and memory decline. In the lawsuit, Mars claims that he was the only member to play live music entirely during the recent tour, while the other members used recordings for their performance. He alleges that Nikki Sixx did not play a single note on the bass during the entire US tour, and that much of Vince Neil's vocals were pre-recorded. Mars also shared that he felt isolated and emotionally distressed during the final performances with the band he co-founded more than 4 decades ago. He described feeling deeply lonely and said that no one in the band spoke to him. Mars stressed that he was fighting not just for money, but for his legacy and reputation. He compared the current situation to firing Mr. Heinz from Heinz Ketchup, implying that he was an integral part of the Mötley Crüe brand. This legal battle is not just about finances, but also raises questions about the ownership and legacy of one of rock's most iconic bands. Can Mars protect his part in Mötley Crüe? And can the band continue without its co-founder and lead guitarist? The legal battle between Mick Mars and Mötley Crüe has raised many questions about fairness, ownership, and legacy in the music industry. As the two sides continue to fight, fans can only hope that the truth will come out and the band's legacy will be protected. With his legal battle with Mötley Crüe over his rights and legacy still unresolved, Mick Mars has chosen a completely different path, stepping out into the light on his own, with a new chapter in his musical career. Will this solo journey help him reassert his position and artistic identity after decades in the shadow of a legendary band? Solo career with bold new sound. Mick Mars, who is 72 years old, has put his talent into beginning an ambitious solo career that exposes musical depths that fans have never seen throughout his 4 decades with Mötley Crüe. This is happening while the legal struggle is still going on. Mars's debut solo record, which was released on February 23, 2024, has completely taken the music industry by storm, with its surprising depth and diversity. Instead of attempting to create some shred fest, Mars purposefully built something that sounds like a band. The album was produced by Michael Wagener, who was most famous for his work on Mötley Crüe's debut album, Too Fast for Love, which was released in The album was recorded at his basement studio, which he referred to as the Dungeon. Critics have lauded the album, stating that it is far better than those sanitized 6 a.m. releases, and that it is the strongest play in any of the Crüe solo projects. According to the observations of one critic, Mars provided something with almost equal potency to Nikki Sixx's debut solo album By Mars. Instruments such as violas, violins, and keyboards were included throughout the record by Mars, in contrast to the plain sound of his previous band. I wanted to alter things up and make the record go into different atmospheres, the guitarist said. I wanted to make the record go into a different atmosphere, where not every song has the same sounding quality. The cinematic ballad, Memories, and the rockers that knock your face into the dirt, like Loyal to the Lie, are examples of the diversity that can be found in this collection. Mars went so far as to add a blues instrumental track called Noir, which was influenced by old B-movies from the 1930s and 1940s. Mars has already begun recording his second album, which is rather remarkable. I've already got some solid ideas too. I'm thinking maybe the beginning of next year. These new songs are described as massively thick by him, and he guarantees that they hit hard. Mars is enjoying his creative independence after spending decades placing Mötley Crüe at the forefront of his career. During an interview, he made the proclamation, "Now it's my time." The guitarist elaborated, "I'm all about fresh ideas now," and continued by saying, "I have so much flexibility to take my project any place. Just being able to express myself in any manner I like is a wonderful experience. And it's a wonderful experience over." Despite his ongoing legal battle with Mötley Crüe, Mick Mars has not faltered, but has instead re-emerged with a new, deeply personal musical journey. At 72, Mars has proven himself to be not only still in great shape, but also bolder than ever, delivering a completely different sound on his debut solo album, a creative statement after 4 decades with the band. With his melancholy violins, classic blues mixed with modern rock, and emotional cinematic ballads, is Mick Mars revealing a musical persona that the public has never known. What do you think of this turn of events? Is it a worthy rebirth for a guitar legend, or a bold statement against a troubled past? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. We would love to hear from you. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more interesting updates. Thank you and see you in the next video.